Today is July the 4th when I'm recording this, and I'm going to be making 2 apple pies because we have a big 4th of July celebration going on this evening, and I want there to be enough apple pie to go around. So hopefully wherever you're at, you are having a good time today. I have 9 apples here, and these are almost about as big as Granny Smith apples get. That's important. I use Granny Smith apples. They make really good pies. They're not that great just to eat fresh if you like sweet apples. They're pretty tart, but we add a lot of sugar and they have a beautiful flavor that really makes the pie just really rich. So I do cheat on the pie crust. If you can get a name brand pie crust, that's probably the best, but they were all out of the name brand on the pie plate pie crust, so I got Great Value, and that's fine. This is Pillsbury. Pillsbury makes a really good pie crust. It just makes the whole thing a lot easier and less time consuming and less messy if you can just buy the pie crust. And I do set these out while I'm building my pie because otherwise this will crack a lot when you try to unroll it. So these are setting out, warming up a little bit while I cut apples. I'm going to show you one of these and then I'll shut off the recording and finish cutting apples. You don't want to watch me cut apples for half an hour, but I want to kind of show you how I cut these thin. So if they're really big, you probably just need about 4 apples per pie. These are almost really big, so I got 1 extra. So 9 apples for 2 pies. If they're small, you probably want 6 per pie at least. You want your pie to be nice and full. Maybe a little bit piled on top, definitely not caving in the top. You want it to be full. So I cut these really nice and thin. It helps them to get tender faster. I'll just cut this into this bowl and then I'll bring these slices over and show you just how thin I cut these. My husband and my friend Scotty both told me I need to record this because I make really good apple pie. So thanks both of you for the suggestion, and here I go, I'm recording apple pie. I don't usually do sweets. I usually do healthy food. But see how thin that's cut? This is 1/4 of a big apple, and that's, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slices there. So pretty thin. And I'm gonna say goodbye to you for now, and I'll finish cutting up all these apples, and then I'll show you what I do with them. All right, I'm back. I've got all my apples cut up. I've got 1 batch of apple pie filling made up, and I'm going to show you what to add to this other one and give credit where credit's due. My friend up in Michigan, Sister Pat Roberts, taught me how to modify any apple pie recipe to make it better, and that's why I know how to make the best apple pie in town. No relation. She's got my last name, but not related to her. So that was 1 cup of dark brown sugar, and that's 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and then we're going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. Nutmeg's really strong. You don't want to overdo it on nutmeg. I'm going to kind of try to spread that out in the flour a little bit so it doesn't end up too strong in any place in the pie. And then we've got 1/2 tablespoon of cinnamon. Wrong side. It's almost impossible to overdo cinnamon, in my opinion. We're going to add more on top too, so here we go. 1/2 tablespoon of cinnamon. And the apples came out to a little under 8 cups. That's a lot, but it's good. I like a big, tall pie. We're just going to break this up and, oops, try not to throw it all over the place. And you'll notice the apples start to lose a bit of juice and get your flour and sugar pretty wet as you're doing this. And that's good because they're going to lose a lot of juice as they're baking. And that's why we add 1/4 cup of flour to try and soak that up a little bit. Keep that in the filling instead of having it spill out. Some of it's going to spill out. So make very sure you put this on a baking sheet with with rims before you put it in the oven, or you're going to have a huge mess to clean up. This takes a few minutes. You want to get every slice of apple good and coated with sugar and spices, and get that flour nicely distributed in there. This is a very time-consuming sweet to make, but it is absolutely worth every minute. It's delicious. Even people who don't like apple pie love this apple pie. I've got my oven preheating at 375 degrees. Now we will put pies together. Usually I will use my own pie plate and use the rolled pie crust for the top and the bottom, but since I'm taking these out of my house and there's a chance I'll lose them at the party, I'm not going to take my own pie plates. I'll use disposable ones. Top's going to look a bit lumpy because it is an apple pie, but we don't want it to be too messy. We want it to be pretty, as pretty as we can make it. So we'll kind of push the slices around a little bit till we have a nice mound. And then disclaimer, this is not a low-calorie dish. We're going to cut up an entire stick of butter for each of these pies and kind of distribute the pieces over the top before we add our top crust. Don't forget this step. It makes all the difference. I forgot it before, and I actually stuck the butter chunks in through the slits in the pie crust to make sure they got in there, because it makes all the difference. around. Move these. Make sure you've got a good view. Oh yeah, that's nice. And then you can use your thumb. Oops, I'm pushing butter out. You can use your thumb or a fork and just pinch the two crusts together. You want to get as good a seal as you can without cracking the crust. This will help keep that filling in so that you lose less of it from when it starts to boil over a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, that's big enough to catch the mess. And then you just trim. Not sure if I'm in frame right now. Rearrange here a second. Just trim the edge right to the edge of the pie pan. And then you can take a bit of this and make a shape like an apple and put it on top just for pretty. And then I'll do the same to the other one. And then if you love pie crust, you can always save the scraps and sprinkle a little sugar and cinnamon on them and bake them off to the side. I like to do that. Just don't leave them in there too long or they'll burn, and then that ruins the fun of it. Okay, now I've got an egg. I'm going to separate it, put the egg white in this mug. I'm going to glaze the top of both of these pies with this egg white. Just get a good, nice, shiny coat of it on there, and then the rest can fall off. This pan's going to be a mess by the time you're done, so don't worry about the pan. That looks good to me. And then I've got some white sugar here. Take some on a little sieve and just sprinkle the top and sprinkle my pie crust scraps here too. This is just however much is to your taste and looks good to you. And then we're going to sprinkle it with a little bit more cinnamon. Try not to go too crazy with the cinnamon because there's already a lot of cinnamon on the inside. But I do love cinnamon. Bit on my pie crust scraps. And then I've got my oven preheated to 375. I'm going to bake this for a total of an hour, but I'm going to take it out at half an hour and I'm going to wrap the edges in aluminum foil. If you wrap them right now, then the aluminum foil will stick. And then when you go to take it off at half an hour so that you get your edges nice and brown, it'll rip part of your pie crust off. So rather than put it on at the beginning and take it off halfway through, I like to put it on halfway through and take it off at the end. So I might record that for you. Or I don't know. But I will definitely show you the end result. But I forgot. You gotta cut 8 little slits in it. It helps it to vent the steam so that your crust stays the shape that you want it to and doesn't get all bubbly. It also gives you a little gap that you can stick a butter knife in through to check how done your pie is after an hour. You want your apple slices to be tender enough that a butter knife easily goes through them, but you don't want to bake it until they're mush. That's generally going to be an hour. I don't know if you can hear in the background. There's people blowing off fireworks already, and it's only a little after 5. Here's what this looks like. No, oops, don't drop it, Lisa. It's going to be even more beautiful after it's done baking. Go ahead and slide these in the oven. All right, here's a pie. It needs some foil on the edges. You can see the edges are already a little bit darker than the rest, and we don't want them to get any darker than they already are. So we're gonna tear off a strip of foil. And then wrap it around the edge of the pie, shiny side towards the pie. This is hard to do without burning your fingers, so be careful with yourself. You don't want to put the shiny side out and reflect heat away, but we do want to just cover those edges so that we don't get any more toasting of the edge. That way the inside will keep baking, but the edge will just be protected. I probably won't run video when I take these out because I only got about 15 minutes to spare before we have to get out, so I will try to get a picture of a slice of pie when I go to eat some, because I am definitely going to get some of this if I can. This is one of my favorite desserts. Starting to move the foil a little bit already. Slide that back in there. And I already reset my timer for half an hour. So when it's been cooking for a total of an hour, I will go ahead and pull that out, and I'll check it with a butter knife, but I'm sure it'll be done by then. So be able to pack it up, carefully put it in the trunk of my husband's car, and we'll be on our way. I pulled my scraps out at about 15 minutes in, and I'll show you what these look like. They're still kind of light on the top, but the bottom is nicely toasted. And they're pretty good. I'm snacking on some of them with a cup of coffee now. And working on a macrame project while I wait for these pies to bake. So hope you all are enjoying your holiday and having a happy 4th of July. I will see you later, and thank you for watching.